My first time I did any sort of substance was actually acid at the age of 13. I was just kind of going with the crowd, and I actually ended up in rehab at 15.
It started with selling coke and then doing coke, and then I'll never do anything other than this. And then one day I, tried crack, and then that was just a justification of, oh, it's just like coke, it's just a different form. And then someone showed me meth, and then told me it was just like Adderall, and before I knew it, I was doing pretty much everything.
My first exposure was in the town that I lived in Beaver Falls. We were like the first young guys there selling drugs. And I've always had a gift of what I used to think was a gift of gab, but it was actually an anointing that God had given me to use for his purposes, but I chose to use it otherwise. And it got me into a lot of precarious situations. One of them being that people would always put drugs in my hand. Being the addict that I was at the time, I didn't know that I was an addict. I just continued, and due to progression, my life got worse.
But I never thought it was a problem because I was being prescribed it by a doctor. And the reality of the situation was, if I just would have lost some weight or did physical therapy or, just taking better care of myself, I probably wouldn't have gotten to the place where I would be eventually.
I can tell you that, like, when I first, my first experiences with pot, I would never have thought that ultimately I would try, intravenous drugs of any kind or heroin. It was just one thing at a time,
So 18, I started venturing with the Oxycontins. So I got involved in that whole realm. And then I started using IV drugs also. So I started shooting Oxycontins, and I started doing heroin in my early 20s. So that was the spiral downhill.
When I was younger, I thought I'd never do heroin, ever. It was my line I drew, and then I found myself crossing it using the justification of it's like taking a Vicodin or a Percocet. And next thing you know, I was just spiraling, and at that point it didn't matter what drugs I did because I'd done them all. Mid-20s, I started messing with, meth and shit like that. And I didn't really get into the heroin until a couple years ago. And then it was about a year and a half I was doing opiates on a regular basis before I went to rehab. And in that year-ish, I was Narcan 20 times. So that's 20 times I should have been dead because of opiates. And I've also administered Narcan probably at least 30 times. I was always a friend that would make sure that people didn't do it alone, and that there was somebody there with Narcan. I was always the one to save people who are running out of houses, terrified the cops are coming, and I've been left in a house where even the owner of the house was gone while I did chest compressions and administered Narcan to people. It's terrifying.
I was the crackhead, but that's how bad I was. It went to having nice cars and homes to, at the end of it, man, sleeping by piss inside a dumpster. I've been up and I've been down, but mostly down. But the great thing is that, my faith kept me strong. That definitely kept me strong,
I tried to quit things so many times on my own, and I'd do fine, and then I would just be sore or have a toothache or something and just break and fold, and I'm just gonna get a bag, the justifications start kicking in, and it's like, my tooth is killing me and I can't get anything for pain. I'm just gonna buy a bag just for the tooth pain today. And then a couple weeks later, there I am again.
Kid, there was like actually this thing of like I thought of myself as like a good drug user. Like I was good at it, I could that sounds so stupid and funny to say today, but I absolutely did.
It was like a point of pride.
Yeah, like
I could go to work and I could get my job done.
I can do it and go to work. I can it's not that I can just function in life, it's that I'm better at life with this thing, I mean, the truth of the matter is, like, it doesn't produce good results for you in your life, like as a blanket statement.
Yeah. It was just like a slow moving train that was just impossible to slow down, and even more impossible to turn around and go backwards.
I went to rehab. I was told that like my disease will progress, I'll like continue to chase it, but I'm like, I'll never be like an alcoholic because they're like old people that live under bridges. I'll never be a junkie because those are also homeless people. But there came a time in my addiction, like before I did that year in jail, where I was homeless. Like I was kind of on the streets in Pittsburgh and like abandoned houses.
The last run I was on, man, I went from, I had $1,000 a day habit, man.
I ended up getting pregnant and I went to get an abortion, and I was like past the limit. So like the state law, like there's like a certain point you can't get an abortion. So I actually was pregnant and carried the baby like full term and used drugs every single day. And I think that was my like rock bottom. That was my turning point. So I had the baby alone at my home. Most of the people I was hanging out with during that time were all like in the streets and stuff. So nobody was really like worried that I was shooting drugs pregnant. Like it was just normal.
I hate to use the term rock bottom because I went rock bottom several times and kept digging lower bottoms. But it took for me to come up against something that made me reach out and cry out and be like, where are you? I need you. There's something greater than me.
The sad fact of the matter was, I was that guy at the time. I just knew that I had it in me to be someone that was so much more than that. But we need to constantly reevaluate and to judge ourselves. In my view, this is what I do with me, is I am who I'm being. So if I know that I have potential that is I'm not living up to, I can't use that as a self-soothing sort of psychological trick to be okay.
I think that like the baby like saved my life, like, and during that time it was detrimental. I mean, like every time I shot drugs, I just wanted to die. I like didn't want to wake up because it was just a horrible roller coaster I was on. But I feel like I learned stuff, I feel like if I didn't go through what I went through, I might still just be like coasting by, getting high.
And so like now this year, it's like I can look back and go, man, a year ago I was in rehab, didn't know what to do, was coming off of all the drugs, and here I am a year later and haven't gone back to doing dope. And I'm super thankful for that, like for everyone that got me there. My own self, I'm like proud of myself because honestly, I didn't think I was going to do it.
Well, I was wondering, like, I was like thinking before, I'm like, should I tell the whole truth or no? Like, I'm like, but I feel like when I do like just get vulnerable and say what it is, and I've done a lot of healing throughout the years. I mean, this is probably the first time I've shared my story and haven't cried. So
Yeah.
it's just like healing that's happened.
Like, everyone needs some help. It's not really something you could just, I'm gonna all alone cold turkey quit. Once you get to a certain point, yeah, there's a certain point where there's no just doing it on your own that easy. I don't care who you are. You could be Superman, whatever. Like, it's there's a certain point you hit where everybody needs help. And if I wouldn't have gotten the help I, accepted, I wouldn't be clean.
Nobody can know what it's like to be anybody else, okay? And you're never going to know the experience of addiction if you haven't experienced it. But just like a heart surgeon doesn't have to have a heart attack to know what cardiac arrest is and how to fix it, if you've never used drugs, you can still absolutely understand. You just don't know what it feels like.
I have one more question.
Come on.
Do you think you will ever learn to truly and forever get to a point where you will forgive yourself and accept your past as your past